All right, guys, I'm going to try this video again. My computer actually went low battery, and the last 30 seconds I had of filming this, and it cut it off. So instead of putting that out, I figured I'd start over. So anyway, we are doing our Thursday reading today. It's going to start on page 102. It's going to go to page 108. So we got 2 days here. We're doing about 6 pages. And it starts with another one of the modern day or current sections, the one that's got the date and the time stamp. And this is when I believe, let's see, yeah, they're going through Eddie's house, looking for just important paperwork. You see, the bad news here for Eddie is that he's got no one left over to kind of do this job. So his attorney and Dominguez, the guy he worked with, have decided to go through and look for any important paperwork and things like that in his apartment. They're going to look for his bank records and things like that. This is just kind of some of the stuff you have to do if someone passes away, so you can look for, what are we going to do with their money? Do they have any insurance? All of that. So they're going through, and it's a pretty long section, to be honest with you, comparatively. I mean, it's not long, it's like a page, but I mean, compared to some of the other ones, it's kind of long. But one of the important things in this is when Dominguez goes and opens Eddie's top drawer in his dresser, and he finds some random objects, or at least they may seem random. But the thing is that Album has pointed to all of these items throughout our stories. So we know these have very, very, major significance to Eddie. But to know anyone else, they're completely just junk, to be honest. So let's read that section. Actually, it's the attorney, not Dominguez, that finds it. So the attorney opened the top drawer of the bedroom bureau. He pushed aside the pairs of socks, neatly rolled, one inside the other, and the underwear, white boxer shorts stacked by the waistbands. Tucked beneath them was an old leather-bound box, a serious-looking thing. He flipped it open in hopes of a quick find. He frowned. Nothing important. No bank statements, no insurance policies, just a black bow tie, a Chinese restaurant menu, an old deck of cards, a letter with an army medal, and a faded Polaroid of a man by a birthday cake surrounded by children. See, we've seen all of these. The bow tie and the Chinese restaurant menu are from when he married Marguerite at that Chinese restaurant. An old deck of cards. We have that was the thing he took after his father passed away. The letter with the Army medal, that points to his service in World War II. And then we saw that picture of the Polaroid. Marguerite took that at one of his birthday parties. So all of this is very meaningful to him. But to these people, it means nothing. And then sadly enough, Dominguez comes out with some paperwork, and the attorney takes it and says, that'll do. He pulled out one bank statement and made a mental note of the balance. Then, as often happens with these visits, he silently congratulated himself on his own portfolio of stocks, bonds, and a vested retirement plan. It sure beat ending up like this poor slob with little to show but a tidy kitchen. So look at how they view Eddie as just he's done nothing and he has nothing. And this is one of the really key elements in this story, is to look at how on the outside it looks like Eddie's a failure. We're going to find out, though, as we transition, like Mitch Albom wastes no space, all right? His books are not very long, but every paragraph has to matter. It's kind of what I was trying to teach you guys with your essays. When you write a shorter essay, you actually are under more pressure to make every word count. None of this rambling, none of this repeating yourself. Everything has to be on point. The longer things can wander a little bit. When you're writing The Count of Monte Cristo, you can, waste a few pages on descriptive elements that are just not really that important. But so what we're doing here is we just got this idea that Eddie's not important. We're going to transition into the person who's going to explain to him how important he actually was. And this will be the 5th person he meets in heaven. Now, we land in a kind of weird situation. It sounds almost like Eddie's back in the war, all right? We also notice that we're progressing chronologically as we have been. He's getting older. He feels like his body was right when he died, to be honest with you. And he hears a bunch of noise, just a bunch of stuff that feels like we're back in World War II days. But then all of a sudden he sees this stream, and he sees a bunch of kids. It says thousands of kids that are just playing in this stream, which is kind of weird. I'm trying to find a good. All right, so as he tries to walk down it, he falls, and then we pick up on 106. Like I said, today and tomorrow's videos are going to be pretty short. Now, today particularly, tomorrow we may have a little bit of time to do some unpacking, so it may take a little bit more time tomorrow, okay? So we get into the last of the Today is Eddie's Birthday. I think this is the last one of Today is Eddie's Birthday sections. And in this one, he does something he hasn't done in any of the other ones. You get several of them. You get he's 51, first birthday without Marguerite. Then you get he's 60, just an average day. He's 68. He's 75. Then he's 82. And if I remember right, and guys, if I'm wrong, I apologize. Whether it's my students watching this or someone who's, unluckily stumbled across this and made it 5 minutes in, I think he died at 83. So I think that was the one before this birthday. Or maybe it was that one. Let me see. No, I don't think so. No. Okay, so then we get to the last lesson. So honestly, we've gone through this pattern where it says the first person Eddie meets in heaven, and usually there was this good bit of description, and then you had the lesson. We had almost nothing in the last one. We just know that there were a bunch of kids in the water, and we didn't even actually get to see Eddie's fifth person yet. So we launched right into this section, which is the last lesson. And guys, this is the important one. They're all important, to be honest with you, but this is the key one that's going to really explain to Eddie what he was there for. All right. So those of you who are very, very aware and active readers, the very first sentence here, you probably started to piece together who he's with. I told you guys it's weird because, the first three people Eddie met were people who had only very peripheral, there we go, impact on impact on Eddie's life. Okay. There were people who his life touched a little bit. Then we got Marguerite, the fourth one, who was the most important person in his life, which a lot of you might be, why didn't we save that for last? Because this last person is honestly what Eddie's entire life has been built around since this specific moment in his life, which was in fact the war when he was very young. And this has been built around that, this one person, a person he never actually met. All right. So we start off with the little girl appeared to be Asian, maybe 5 or 6 years old. Now, I'm not trying to spoil it, but you should have read before you got this. Remember back in the second story when he was with his captain, he talked about burning that hut down and thinking he saw a small shadow. And, he had convinced himself there was no one there, that he was just seeing things. But the fact is that there was actually someone there, and it was this little girl. When he burned this down, he killed this little girl. All right. Really sad, tragic. It's a wartime thing. You can't beat Eddie up for it, but yet it's still, think about the fact they didn't have to burn that hut. This wasn't it's me or them moment. He could have just run. They decided to do this because of the anger that had built up in them that they had to get out of their system, which there's no faulting that. I mean, I've never lived through something so traumatic. But the fact is that there's a price to pay for our anger. And, this little girl paid it. She's not the enemy. She's a 5 or 6 year old little girl. Even if she was part of the Japanese side, it's hard to blame a 5 or 6 year old kid for anything. So they go back and forth with this, trying to kind of a language barrier type of thing. But she talks about that they're sitting in this water, all these children washing themselves like their mothers used to do. So it's this peaceful memory for these kids. And then this kid does something kind of cool. And again, this is one of the beauties of Mitch Albom's writing. He laid the groundwork for this detail way back in the first few pages. All right. It says Eddie had heard many children in his life, but in this one's voice, he detected none of the normal hesitation toward adults. He wondered if she and the other children had chosen this riverbank heaven, or if, given their short memory, such a serene landscape had been chosen for them. She pointed to Eddie's shirt pocket. He looked down. Pipe cleaners. These, he said. He pulled them out and twisted them together as he had done in his days at the pier. She rose to her knees to examine the process. His hands shook. You see, he finished the last twist. Dog. She took it and smiled, a smile Eddie had seen 1,000 times. So, and we're going to read those last two sentences in a second too, but this scene about him making these pipe cleaner animals for these kids, for thousands of them, is a detail we got way back before Eddie even dies. And it's an important one. And the key thing here is to think thousands. Think about all the kids who have come to this park who in some way Eddie has done something, even a small kindness for them. And guys, we talked about this with Tuesdays with Maury, and we're going to talk about it more. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it today because it's coming for the Friday video. Small kindnesses, they may seem small kindnesses to those of us doing them. They are huge kindnesses to the people receiving them. I've mentioned this in videos before, getting emails from my students just checking on me. Even before I had the medical issues I had this past week, meant so much to me. To have a parent email me and say, hey, I saw that you were having some trouble. Just want you to know we're praying for you. Even just that's 2 sentences means it takes no time for you guys to sit down and do that. It meant all the world to me when I see those. So these little small things Eddie did had bigger impact than he thinks, and we're going to get more about that. But look at these last 2 sentences. You like that? He said. You burned me, she said. Now, wow, there's a big twist. I mean, you burned me comes out of nowhere, and you're like, wait, what happened? And of course, again, if you were a good reader, you already kind of picked up on who this was. If you're an average reader, that line should have given it to you. But don't worry, if you still were confused, he's going to explain it going forward. But, you know, Eddie's fifth person is the kid he killed way back during World War II during this escape. So we're gonna get the kind of why she's there, and it's not to make him feel guilty. All right. Okay, guys. Thank you again for taking out your 11, 12 minutes to sit here and watch this video. I've gotten a few comments recently, not on my videos like directly, but through, like Miss Richardson told me she spoke with someone and that you guys were enjoying these, and that means a lot to me. I enjoy making them. I like doing this. I like having this conversation. I've always liked talking about literature. It's why I became a teacher. So, you know, it's exciting that some of you are getting something out of it. So anyway, thank you again. And we're going to do the last video of the school year tomorrow. Well, I'm going to do it here in a minute, but it'll be, most of you will be watching it on that Friday, which is going to be technically, this will be let's see, what date is this? I'm making it on the 7th, believe it or not. But you guys, if you follow the pattern, we'll be viewing this on the 15th, which will be your last day of the school year, technically, except for those of you who need to do some makeup work, which is what that last week's for. So, you know, congratulations making it through this ridiculously long and troublesome quarantine period. I hope you guys have an amazing summer, and I hope we can do this next year in class instead of having to do this distance. I miss you guys, and I hate not having you in class. So anyway, enough rambling. We'll stop here, and I'll shoot this last video and get these all out to you even before the week starts to help out for those of you who are proactive and want to work early. Okay? All right, guys, take care.